And then we have the main event, the I Quit match for the TNT title between Christian Cage and Adam Copeland. They had Adam Copeland do quite a lot of media in the last 48 hours in the lead up to this, worth noting. And I mean, this crowd, they're going nuts before the bell even rings. They see this as a really big match. And immediately Copeland teases the spear, but Cage rolls out of the ring.
Let's also mention the Alter Bridge sing-along we had.
Yeah, they came out and the music ended and the crowd just kept doing, they didn't get to sing Judas, so they sang Metalingus.
Yes.
Imagine coming home and explaining to someone that doesn't watch wrestling, what did you sing along? Oh, we sang this song called Metalingus. And it was a cool like environment for this. And I actually like the way Christian's music cut off the sing along, and it was like the crowd was sad that they had to stop singing because of this prick.
Yeah.
So they fight into the crowd, into the penalty box, and they do the spot where Copeland puts a Boston Bruins jersey onto Christian, and then Copeland grabs a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey to put on, and they do the hockey fight spot that gets a big reaction and a Go Leafs Go chant. And
what did you think of the choice of a Bruins jersey here as the heel?
So I would give strong assumption that this was a conveniently placed set of fans with these
Of course.
jerseys.
Yeah, of course.
Which would lead me to believe why go with Boston.
Well, okay, so I guess original 16, maybe a classic rival. Obviously, the main rival of the city would be the Canadians, Montreal.
And second, Ottawa, I would say.
Yeah, but I guess you wouldn't want a heel edge in those territories for the future. And so thus
where did we go last week? Boston. That's the furthest we won't be going back to Boston for months. They won't remember that.
That's exactly.
I mean, we're really overthinking this. It was.
I'm sure there was thought put into it. I mean, I'm sure they were considering other teams, but no, let's go with Boston.
So, I mean, the crowd really got into this, and even like a bit of an assist by Christian, like feeding the arm into the didn't want it to be too
it's sort of an automatic reaction. Like I have to dress Oscar like every morning, and you kind of learn.
I was literally thinking as I do, like it's almost second nature to have to like put a child into a shirt. Like I think I could have done this seamlessly. So there was a funny part
and just a note here from Jared, who says the fans with jerseys were a couple of Ottawa area wrestlers, Dexter Doom and Cecil Nix. Okay, those names are so made up that I'm not even going to need to fact check. I believe you, Jared.
Yeah, no relation to Jasmine Nix in NXT or Dexter Loomis
that we know of.
Yeah, Dexter Loomis, the man. We don't know where he is. So they Taz starts talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then Excalibur explains that the Toronto Marlies play here. Taz has never heard of the Toronto Marlies, and Excalibur tried to explain them, and God bless. They make their way into Cage runs into the women's washroom. So these women come running out of the washroom
and this is all during commercial.
Okay, this was during the commercial, and they come back into the ring, and the ladder is brought out. We get a TLC chant, and then Copeland goes to place the ladder between the ring and the apron, the apron and the barricade, and this ladder is too short. So it looks like he had to improvise, and he places it between the desk and the timekeeper's area, and then drops Cage on top of this, just taking the back bump onto the chair or onto the ladder, and then sets up a table against the barricade, can't spear Cage through it, and then Cage sends Copeland into the post, and Copeland starts bleeding. And then there's a high cross that puts both men through the table on the floor. Back into the ring we go, and Cage gets out of a crossface with an eye gouge, and they do a double spear spot that sets up the second commercial break. And they make their way up to the stage. Cage gets catapulted off the stage and then thrown into a hockey net that Copeland brings out. First time we've seen a hockey net, I think, incorporated into a AEW match that I'm aware of.
Yeah, you're
heavy leaning on the hockey. They were aiming to get on to TSN Sports Center.
Maybe an interview with Jay Onray.
That was it. Yes. Yeah. They were looking for their highlight pack that Mercedes Moné could edit and send over to TSN. Shayna Wayne shows up and hits Copeland from behind with a hockey stick to the balls, but Copeland still won't quit. Then the hockey stick gets broken over his back, and Cage is driving the hockey stick into the throat of Copeland, and he's gurgling, but he won't quit. So Cage brings out a bunch of chairs, including a barbed wire one, and Copeland gets out of the way of a concerto, and both attempt kill switches onto the barbed wire chair, and they're thwarted. Cope uses the crossface with the hockey stick, but realizes Cage can't say anything with the hockey stick in his mouth. So instead takes the drawstring from his tights and uses it to choke Cage. This is when Nick Wayne and Killswitch run out to assist Christian, and Shayna comes in, slapping Copeland, and that prompts Matt Menard and Daniel Garcia to run down, and Killswitch is the one to take an Impaler DDT onto the barbed wire chair. And then, I don't know how close you saw this, Nick Wayne gets thrown over the top, and his heel comes down and just rocks Killswitch in the head. And he came down. I thought this guy was like going to be knocked out from this. It looked brutal.
And that's after taking the barbed wire.
That's after the barbed wire. And then Menard is literally grabbing them up to take the high cross from Copeland off the ladder. And that was all for Killswitch, as him and Nick Wayne get handcuffed in the corner, and then they handcuff Cage in the other corner. Shayna runs to the back, and Copeland just kicks this dude multiple times in the balls. And you knew where this was going to culminate. It was the reveal of Spike. And dude, for all the introduction of this Spike and then the promo on Saturday, like there were some signs for this Spike, and this crowd popped when he brought this thing out. I thought they did a pretty good job of building to this ultra weapon of Adam Copeland's, and he hits Cage in the balls with this thing and then goes to hit him in the face, and that's when Cage quits in 25 minutes and 46 seconds as Adam Copeland becomes a 2-time TNT/TSN champion.
And they did do the transition to Rampage in between the final of the match, so you had to switch over to Rampage, or if you're watching this on demand or something, you had to stick around through to Rampage officially in order to catch the finish of the match. It was getting to a point there at the end where like Christian was like refusing to give up based like off of like a lot of shit, or I almost was worried he was becoming a little bit of a babyface here. Like the man took like multiple shots to the balls and just all this other damage and still wouldn't give up.
That's going to be the story. He will not be able to father any more children.
That's probably exactly it. Yeah. I thought this was a great match. This was my match of the night. Crowd was incredibly into it from the beginning, and they managed to deliver like a really captivating sort of series of chapters throughout the entire body of this match. A lot of variety and creativity. Even their brawling through the crowd at the beginning, I thought was a lot of fun with that hockey fight. And then the introduction of the TLC weapons, leading to a lot of very creative spots for two people who really kind of built their careers off of these gimmicks. I think they did a really great job, like you said, of introducing Spike earlier on. At the moment it showed up, got a great reaction. This was a finish that felt very conclusive, after the cuffs, after the repeated shots to the balls. There's really not much more where they could go, I feel.
Listen, they've had 2 singles matches in AEW, this and the World's End one, and I think both have been outstanding. You can flip a coin of which one you prefer. I love that match in December. I thought it was tremendous, and this followed up on it really effectively. To your point, I think this feels like the end of the program, and this audience was great for the entire 25 plus minutes. They were into it, and yeah, like the people I was talking to after, like everyone seemed to be raving about this. I thought it was like a really, really strong television main event that you got. Like this was a pay-per-view level match that you got out of these two.
It could have been the match we would have had at Revolution, but I think, at this point you really want to spread the wealth, and there's probably not a better place they could have had this match than in Toronto.
Yeah, and they also had the match in Montreal as well back in December. So those are the locations that we've had. So 3 matches at this point. And that bleeds into Rampage, which I thought...
So let's maybe finish talking about just Copeland and Cage. Where do you think they move to next?
I think with Copeland, I really like the involvement of Daniel Garcia and to a lesser extent Matt Menard in this as well, that you kind of have them as sort of, Copeland's like,
the new edgeheads,
and the Cope. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah,
tougher ones. Huh. I could see Copeland continuing the open challenge deal that he had been introducing as a challenger and now doing it as a champion.
Yeah.
But I think everyone, dude, he's mentioned it. Like, there's just an endless amount of names he's never worked with that, I mean, take your pick of where you go next. I think he can definitely get away. Like, I don't think Killswitch or Nick Wayne are the people you go to at this point. And I'm also interested to see where Cage goes after this, if he's off for a while and then returns at some point, where that goes. But yeah, I mean, it's not like anything's been hinted at for Copeland. So I think it's just like an open book of just different options you have for him.
Like, just kind of, throw a random, like, draw a random name on the AEW roster. I mean, it'll probably be interesting. There's so many guys that are fresh opponents for him. I think, and this TNT title run for Christian has really, really been amazing. Achieved, I think, way more than any of us could have expected. But now, as a babyface, we're going to see a much more active, title defending champion. That'll probably stay on Collision the way he has. But you have a lot of potentially big headlining matches just for those weeks of Collision.